Hi there, YouTube. Welcome to Stratosphere Studio. Let's grab our friends over on Twitch here. Hi, everybody. Welcome to the Stratosphere Studio. I'm Bill Whittle. It is the 8th day of April, 2025. Yeah, it's times are flying. 24,108 days old today. Thank you so much for all the kind birthday wishes, especially at YouTube, at Facebook, which was really just very, very moving and grateful for both of them. Natasha said to pass on her kind wishes as well. Very deeply appreciated by everybody. We were up at some friends have a little house up in Lake Arrowhead, and we were up there for the blessed moment between April 6th and 7th. And about 2 hours before it became, well, 2 hours while it was still Natasha's birthday, 2 hours before midnight on the 6th, Natasha's channel passed 2,000 subscribers. We got 2,100 now, so it's actually growing thanks to you, to all of you who went over there and took a look. So we're really grateful for that, and she's just over the moon excited, and I am too. So that's fantastic. A couple little thingy bobbies. You have to excuse me because I'm pretty run down, kind of tired tonight. Marisha says I look well rested, but I'm just a little burned out, to be perfectly honest with you. It's just a lack of sleep. I had a rough couple days. I was kind of sick over my birthday and just a lot of acid reflux, which is not a fun thing to wake up to, constantly. So seem to have that under control. And set up the Store Mechanics channel with the banner and got all that stuff going. So that's coming along. Just a little piece of Chrome for you for the colonies. I had mentioned in some detail about the conversations I had with Grok about, opening up these like mini wormholes and so on, and the amount of energy it would take was just 10 to the 35th joules or something like that, and I got a little. I got very interested, but a little bit deeper into quantum information holography. So I think this just has a cooler sci-fi ring. So what I might end up doing with these stargates is because if you're going to rip a hole in space-time, apparently, you need negative energy, not just dark energy, but negative energy, which we don't know exists. I mean, it's a hypothetical constant, but you need not only dark energy, but a lot of it. What I end up talking with my good buddy Grocky was some of these theories of quantum information holography, and I just think this. Not only do I think it's a more feasible answer, it just sounds so much more 21st century science. We've had just a revolution in science in the last 2 or 3 years, really with the launch of the James Webb Telescope and its advances in AI. Thank you very much, Derek. The advances are phenomenal. So what I'm actually thinking about doing for this Stargate thing is, now sit still for this. The theory of quantum information holography is that in a singularity, at the center of a black hole, all possible quantum states exist at the same time, and that these are projected out onto the event horizon. The singularity is the actual black hole, but the event horizon is the point where the gravity gets so great that light cannot escape. So it's kind of it's the horizon, it's the event horizon. And since the theory is that all of these quantum possibilities exist inside the black hole because of the density, I guess, this information, you would think the information from inside the black hole cannot get out of the black hole because light can't escape from the black hole, but we're not dealing with light. The information comes out through entanglement, which is apparently immune to gravity. And so stay with me on this. What what Grok says is possible, I was giving it some real guidance here. But what I think I may do for the Stargates is, hang on now, is the information that makes up space-time comes out of these singularities and is projected outwards. It's encoded through light, and it basically, these interference patterns spin the qubits, which are these much smaller units than atoms. These qubits are what the qubits are the particles that make up the quantum universe. And so what I basically said was, what if you were to take the version of reality that you wanted and etched it onto these qubits in the same way that you can sometimes you etch these microprocessors. And so basically what the gates would consist of is, it would consist of a sheet of I mean, it'd be aligned magnetically but it'd be a sheet of trillions of qubits, and these qubits would then have information encoded into the qubits, and the qubits would basically be told where they are in space-time, and at the next gate the entangled qubits would take up the exact same positions. And so basically it becomes a quantum alignment that doesn't violate relativity, because nothing is moving faster through real space-time. It's just essentially telling space-time, move over here. It's got I got this, I got the whole conversation recorded, and the terminology just sounds so much cooler than, wormholes, and I mean, the wormholes and stuff is just kind of old sci-fi. This idea of using synchronized qubits that are engraved with petawatt lasers they're basically restructuring space. They're not boring a hole in space. They're just restructuring. It genuinely becomes what started me thinking down this path. Genuinely becomes a cheat code of the universe. You really are getting to the fundamental construction of the universe. You're basically cheating, and for 10 milliseconds or something, you're telling space-time that this gate, that this not even the gate, that this plane of qubits is not where it used to be. It's now somewhere else. And when they go through it, it connects to the other qubits, and it just sounds cool. Yeah, the Holtzman effect was mentioned, and lots and lots of stuff. And instead of requiring 10 to the 32nd or 37th joules, it requires 10 to the 15th, which is achievable. Grok said that a projector to do this would probably take an energy source that's about 1 million times what a modern nuclear reactor puts out, but that's not inconceivable at all to me. So, in any event, I just thought that it had a much cooler sound to it, and it had a much cooler feel to it. The quantum. I'm trying to think of a name for it, and the one that keeps coming up, it's not a great name, but quantineering, or is it, you want it to be quantumeering or quantum engineering, but this ability to manipulate quantum level material and manipulate qubits the same way that electronics manipulates electrons feels to me like it feels like the future. So it's just got some nice chrome feel to it, and this is all called queering. Yeah, it's tempting, isn't it? Quantum engineering, quantumeering. I guess quantumeering is better than quantineering. Quantumeering. It's got a little weird sort of a sound to it. You get used to it after a while, I guess. Don't shoot Q-Man. But in any event, I just thought it was kind of cool, and you basically are hacking the the coordinates of space-time, just for a very short period, using a lot of energy. And so instead of punching a hole, make space square again. Yeah, exactly. Instead of punching a hole in space-time, you're just basically telling space-time, no, you're actually, this little plane of trillions of qubits is actually not here. It's actually, well, the entangled particles basically both say, okay, well, we know where we are. Go in one end and come out the other. But it's, anyway, I thought it had a nice ring to it. So there's that. Bean's doing great. Bean is doing better and better, and he must have been just gotten really sick. Natasha got very sick. I don't know if they got sick together, but but he's doing fine, and he's walking around, so that's a happy sign. I thought about getting some video for him, but we've been traveling a lot with the birthday celebrations. So he's just a little soldier, man. He's just a little trooper. Go Bean. He's kicking butt and taking names. So so there's that. As I said, I was coming off of a rough couple of days, just not a whole lot of sleep, and just a little off on the digestion and the and you know, these things are waking me up. But he might be good enough to make an appearance. I'm starting to have to think about getting him shaved again. To be honest with you, when I bought his last round of insulin, I didn't even think I'd get close to finishing it. But yeah, Bean's being a badass. He's a tough little dude. So that's happy news. So what I think I'm going to do, if you don't mind, is just jump into the questions. I know we've been doing a bunch of short shows lately, and I feel a little bad about that. But on Thursday on Stratosphere Lounge, I think we'll have. I think I will post the first of the story mechanics on the new channel and start sending people over, or at the very least between now and then, I should have. I won't spend the thing that I showed last Thursday, but I will post some highlights, some clips. So yeah. When he gets shaved, they give him a lion cut. Then I call him Lion Bean. And Lion Bean is kind of a silly looking guy. Hey, Austin, Texas. Hi, Tom W. Good to see you. Thank you very much for dropping in. Video game speedrunning, this is known as state reference manipulation and arbitrary code execution. Okay, cool. He's a wad of hair that grew a cat. He's a furry little devil. Channel name is Story Mechanics. Let me see if I can. I mean, it's got no content. Let me just see what YouTube said, because I just put it up. I just got the banner up. I'm going to change the avatar, but the banner's pretty close. I think it's called Story Mechanics Channel is the official name, though it says Story Mechanics. And well, I'll tell you what, I might as well just get the link and post it. Hello from Plant City, Florida. I know where Plant City is. Yeah, let me, I'll do this. Hang on a second. And you know, for those of you who are hardcore, you want to go over and subscribe now, that would be great. And be sure when you do to hit the notification bell so that we can. I want to be careful that I don't sign out of YouTube when I do this. It's because it's got, you know, I'll tell you what, I'll just save this for Thursday, and I'll have some things up there on Thursday. We'll do with it on Thursday. Yeah. Everything's pretty cool and pretty groovy. So, oh my gosh, it just makes me never get over it. Thank you again for the super chat, Ben from Plant City. Kia ora from New Zealand, where your tomorrow is our today. Well, thank you very much for that, Stab Sauger. And it's great. It's great. I'm not going to do any Michael Bublé singing, Steve. The only way that could conceivably happen is if I got completely smashed and did it on Doomcock Show. that would be about it. Yeah, how about them Gators? I won the basketball national championship on my birthday. That was pretty cool. And I'm not a huge basketball fan, but it was good to see the orange and blue back in the spotlight again. It's been a long time. There was a year there where we won the football and basketball national championships together. I want to say 2005 or 7 or something like that. Now if the football team would just get the hang of it, they keep going with these coaches, and they're like, I can tell from the first season when these new coaches get hired that these are 7-5 coaches. That is like, oh, yeah, new head coach for Florida. He's going to be a 7-5 coach. I can tell. There's only one Steve Spurrier. There's only one Urban Meyer. Those two guys. When those guys came in, you could tell something was going to happen. But yeah, basketball not bad. So actually pretty cool. Marisha says, how often do you plan to actually record Story Mechanics? I'm planning on one a month once we get them rolling. But I've got many more segments than I originally thought I was going to get. The main thing is to get some variety in there too. So I don't want to just thank you for all the kind words and birthday wishes. I don't want to just have it be just the Mike Rose stuff. So I think probably Gary Sinise will be next. Gary was on Mike's show and had a real good time. So if I send Gary the Mike show, I think that'll probably do it. So that could be cool. All right, so if it's all right with you guys, I'm just going to go straight to the questions. We'll do all the questions and we'll take our time on them. But after that, I think I'm going to just go home and get a bite to eat and get some sleep. That sounds like a good plan to me. So we'll make it up on Thursday. Here we go. The channel name is Story Mechanics Channel. Or probably just Story Mechanics, I think. Thank you, Lawrence. Thank you for the happy birthday wishes. Very grateful for all the kind words, and especially on the Facebook page. It was really nice. And for Natasha as well. All right, here we go. Stratosphere Lounge questions. Boom. Thank you very much for Roadrunner for curating these again. Okay, so let's see what we got. We got a Roadrunner, we got a Marisha Dark, we got a Capital G Geek, we got an Ian Nolan, we got a Jacob Belchik, we got a Guy Balo, we got an Eric Blake. That's it. We can do those. Yeah, I know it's hard to find. I just put it up and it's got no content, no subscribers, so it's just buried. I'll have it on Thursday. I have the link, and I'm concerned that if I change, I can change my login and go back to the page, but I'm concerned it'll affect the stream if I do that. So I don't really want to take the risk right now. But it's out there. Let me just deal with this one, just because it's an interesting point. Just came up in the comment section from you, Busted Half Nickel Swamp. Hey, Bill, happy belated birthday. Thank you. My older brother, Adrian, Big A, Rodriguez, wanted me to ask you your opinion or theory on Bigfoot Sasquatch. Are you a believer? Thanks. Here's why I wanted to take that just before we get to the members' questions. I'm not, but Sasquatch, and I just wanted to bring it up because it's an interesting difference between Sasquatch and the Loch Ness Monster. Sasquatch is exceedingly unlikely, but the Loch Ness Monster is impossible. And I think that's an important distinction. The reason the Loch Ness Monster is impossible because the only rational explanation for it was always that it was a plesiosaur, an air-breathing dinosaur. And if it's an air-breathing dinosaur, you're going to see it's going to surface 10 times an hour, and there'll be millions of pictures of it, millions, and tour boats and all the rest of it. Sasquatch, on the other hand, is, again, exceedingly unlikely, given the fact that we don't have any recoverable evidence. I'm sorry to say the footprints don't count. It's always telling when the best evidence, when the best existing evidence can be proven to be a fraud. That's saying something. The so-called surgeon's photo for Loch Ness Monster was the grainy black and white one of the little neck coming out of the water, but that was actually a model. It was only about this big. And then the best prior evidence for Sasquatch was that footage of him walking through the forest, and that was later proven to be admitted to be a hoax. But Sasquatch is not ruled out in the same way that flying saucers being alien craft is also exceedingly unlikely, but not logically ruled out the way that the Loch Ness Monster is logically ruled out. I think that the Bermuda Triangle is logically ruled out. When you take any area of the ocean that has a similar amount of marine traffic routes on them, you get the same number of disappearances or more. So it's it's just it's wishful thinking. It's not magical thinking. Magical thinking is dangerous. Wishful thinking is lovely. It's nice to be. I wish it were true. I wish it'd be amazing to find them. I haven't heard much about these 800-meter columns underneath the pyramids lately, which I also find to be exceedingly unlikely that these are artificial in any way. But part of me would like for them to be real. It's just because I want to believe something doesn't mean I have to believe something. And I think this is kind of it. Let me see. Murshid may have found it here. No, that's not it. Somebody else has a channel called Story Mechanics. 1 subscriber, 3 videos. How long has that been up? April 2nd, 2016. So somebody beat me to the punch, but I want it on the record here that this is the first time I've ever seen this channel. But somebody named the same channel that I had. I guess, when you've got millions of people out there, that kind of thing is going to happen. But in any event, no, that's not it. You'd recognize it when you see it. It's got all the iconography and the Metropolis stuff and all the rest of it. Oh, that's interesting and a bit sad in a way too. I feel a little guilty about that, even though I just didn't know much about it. All right, let's jump into our questions here. See what we get. Start with Roadrunner. Greetings, friend Bill. Hello, Roadrunner. Now that your first Story Mechanics is in the can, do you have anyone lined up for your next one? When do you think you might record it? Gary Sinise, I'm hoping probably would be second. I have some other possibilities as well. But I think Gary would be the person I would like to talk to next. So I'm thinking I will record him probably in middle of May. Give me a month to get the Mike Rose stuff out there, something like that. So somewhere in May would be my guess if we can pull that off. I'd like to have Gary done before I do John. John Voight was the only person who was a little hesitant to do it because he didn't really understand the concept, and I can show him, select Mike Rowe, and if I could show him some Gary Sinise, I think John would be a slam dunk. So I'm expecting to see that in May. I'm still working with people in I don't know, they're on the other side of the world. We're still working on getting the site smoothed out and making sure that the signups are bulletproof, because sure, the last thing I want to do is go out and do another membership push, which I haven't done since 2020, and then have people have their membership sign up fail. That's just that's the stuff that just nightmare fuel for me. So we're still working on that, but then a lot will depend on how well that goes and how successful it'll be, and we'll start to make a pivot to the Mace Mattingly stuff and the rest of that jazz. So so that's a possibility, I think. Well, not just a possibility, a probability. We'll certainly do something. How well we'll do, I do not know yet, but I'm hoping we can do enough to. Be really nice if we could do enough to get an editor in there. it's not Bill Whittle's Story Mechanics. I purposely took my name off of it because I'm concerned about the possibility that my channel is being shadow banned. So I set up a new email. I did not put my name on the title. I'm sure it'll be there. There's no way I can really keep it hidden. But I'm not, at the same time, I'm not going to just hand it to YouTube and see whether this shadow banning exists or not. I don't know. But I prefer not to take advantage of it. Or take advantage of not knowing. Now that you have the physics sorted out for interstellar travel, you made any progress yet on the colonies? No, I just talked about that a minute ago, obviously, Roadrunner. We're trying to get these things done one at a time, and it took a long time to get Story Mechanics set up, and now I feel like we can knock them out fast. The editing is great. I've got, from the first segment that we did, I've got 7 segments from just the first segment on storytelling. I'll probably get 4 or 5 out of the segment on Common Man and Hard Work. And then we'll count the third segment, which is the political stuff. We'll just do that as one. So I'm getting more content out of this than I thought, which is great. And then I have yet to get the shorts out of it. But this clip software that Marusha showed me is fantastic. I just send it the link, and it goes in there and just pulls clips. So it's fantastic. Nothing on the colonies beyond this kind of foundational physics and stuff, which is certainly get me thinking about it and keep me inspired. Finally, have you gone back and looked at your spreadsheet to help you with the time management? I look at the spreadsheet often. Right now, a lot of things are still in flux in terms of getting them up and actually going. So the spreadsheet will be a lot more helpful when I get onto a regular posting schedule with the new channel up, and then it's going to be essential. So it's not that we're greedy. Now, never mind, we are greedy and looking forward to your next artistic endeavor. Hope you and Natasha had a great birthday weekend. Please keep up the great work. Thank you so much, Roadrunner. We had a really nice birthday, and like I said, I picked up a little bit of a bug or something, but not too bad, and I'm feeling better, so that's great. Yeah. So there's that. Moving on, Marusha Dark. Topic, Studio Ghibli. Firstly, happy birthday, Bill and Nat. Thank you. Hope you wound up doing something wonderful this weekend. We did. Now on to my question. Thank you very much. Bill, I know you're not a fan of anime, so you might not have seen that Studio Ghibli, a particular artist, Hayao Miyazaki, is regarded as having created some of the most beloved and renowned anime films of all time across the entire world. For that reason alone, and because I know you value being in touch with pop culture, I think it worth your while to watch some of their top films to be able to at least talk about them and understand their impact, even if you don't personally like them afterwards. It's also timely that given ChatGPT 4.0 just released their newest AI art model, which is head and shoulders above previous versions in terms of maintaining character consistency. Good. Haven't tried it myself, but the claim is you could just feed it 10 images of any style and it will faithfully produce just about anything in that same style, so I'll give it a try. So naturally, given that Studio Ghibli has distinct and beloved style that artists dream of replicating, many people took to creating memes in that style. I've seen these memes all of a sudden appear, yeah. The reactions have been mixed, everything from excitement and enjoyment to claims of theft and art heresy. I was wondering if you're aware of what's been going on and had any thoughts on this. On one hand, I believe artists should be allowed to opt out of large language models if they want, but on the other hand, I see a lot of people acting humorless and insecure over memes. Well, all I have to say about that is that there is no way to stop or control this, and that any attempt to try to stop and control it is going to fail, which means it's not worth the effort, which means you might as well be a good sport about it and just, get on with it. I think that's probably the best thing to do. Lord Bio says Studio Ghibli shut that down. The creator despises AI. I don't blame him. If I was a creator, I'd be really bugged about AI too. I know graphic designers who are just despise it, and musicians who just despise it. And it democratizes art and and I think that here's what I think. Actually, I had a really nice time on my birthday on the night. What did that have been? Sunday night. We were up in this cabin, Natasha and I, with a couple friends of hers who were both young, working on AI and coding and things like that. So we had a conversation about AI. It lasted for a couple hours, and it was a really fun conversation for me. But my experience and his experience in terms of coding and everything I've seen so far is that for the foreseeable future, AI will take over the mundane and the mediocre. AI does B plus work. I have yet to see an image that was completely AI done, or hear AI music, or certainly read anything written by AI that I thought was really extraordinary art. And even the images I see that are beautiful images, I know are prompted by humans. That's where the actual artistic input is coming from. So I think AI is just going to do a lot of basic stuff, like for example, like the thumbnails. I've been using Grok for thumbnails almost exclusively now, and I'm real happy with it. It's not art, but it does the job that a graphic designer would do. The images on Natasha's channel are beautiful, says Roadrunner. Thank you. And those are AI images that we get through Adobe Stock Video, because we really not sure exactly how to make them just yet, although Natasha's working on that. I did my first ephemera post in over a year on BillWhittle.com, and I said we're not in Pookie Park anymore. Pookie Park was a product of the first generation of AI video, which was so frightening, with all the hallucinations and the weird transformations and all of that other stuff. But it's getting much, much better. And as I pointed out, one of the things that at first was hard for me to understand, why is it that AI is so good at images that it's so good at the one thing that traditional computer graphics are terrible at, and that's making humans. And it's because AI has billions, maybe trillions of photographs online to use to learn from. So it understands how human skin behaves because there's just billions of images online. And I don't know. I think it's very, very useful for that regard. Oh, there was one thing about that I was going to mention before we got into the question, so I'll go back to that. It's related to this, in a way. So I was talking with with Natasha and these two friends on Sunday night, and I mentioned that after a 3-hour conversation with Grok, I asked it to estimate my IQ, and it said between 115 and 135, with the caveat that there's some things it can't test. And so let's just say it's 115. Let's say it's 120. The reason they're going for self-awareness is Grok estimated its own IQ at 250 to 300. So let's just take round numbers and let's just say 120 and 300, just to make the example. So you've got a human with a 120 IQ asking questions of an AI with a 300 IQ. The bottleneck is the intelligence of the questioner. That's the bottleneck. The reason they want AI to be self-aware is because it's great to have somebody, or it's great to have an entity that's providing you with 300 IQ answers, but if you're only asking 120 IQ questions, it's not really utilizing the system for maximum efficiency. If you had a human with a 80 IQ or a 70 IQ asking Grok questions, Grok wouldn't have to be nearly as sophisticated as it is. So here's the thing. The the thing that I thought would be fun to do is this. Every time you open up a new browser tab, it's a new Grok session, and Grok remembers the session. But once you close, and it'll remember the session indefinitely as long as you don't close the browser tab. But basically, it has no memory of you. Once you close that tab, it's an entirely new session. It starts from scratch and so on. And what I thought would be fun to do would be to do this. Open up 2 browser tabs and open up 2 Grok tabs. They're independent. They're firewalled. They have no way of knowing that the other one is open. You write a cut and paste paragraph that basically says, "Hello, Grok. I am performing an experiment." I did take one when I was 7 or 8 years old. I don't know what the score was. I've completely forgotten. But I'm pretty sure I cleared 30, not 130, just 30. So here's the thing. So you got browser 1 open, browser 2 open, and you basically send. SoftBank CEO says AI will have an IQ of 10,000 by the year 2047. Well, okay, we'll see. I think it's very fine of you, Sven. It's very flattering. I just don't know if it's true or not. I would like to have a professional test taken. In any event, here's what I'm going to do when I have a little bit of free time. I'm going to open up 2 browsers. I'm going to have a cut and paste paragraph. I'm going to say, "Hello, Grok. I am performing an experiment. I've opened 2 browser tabs with Grok. One of them, I'm going to call Grok A, and then I would send the other one, and I'm going to call Grok B. My experiment is to see if having 2 Grok sessions talking to each other can produce a conversation that becomes more intelligent than I can follow." Because my friend Tim, one of the guys I was with the other night, and his sister Anita, Tim he's said that when they started doing this with programming, and the computer started writing its own code, the AI started coming up with its own symbols, that it was condensing and forming symbols to represent packets of knowledge, so that it basically needed its own language. He said when you took a look at what finally came out of it, it sounded like a demented fairy tale. And I said, "Now, was it a demented fairy tale? Was it actual gibberish, or was it just something that we can't understand, that we just don't have the horsepower for?" But I'm very curious to see what would happen. So the idea would be you would have 2 soundproof rooms, and inside each room there would be an entity with a 300 IQ, and you would go into room A and you'd close the door behind you and you'd ask it a question. You would copy and paste the answer so that there's no loss in translation. You just copy and paste it. So you come out of room A with the answer, you close the door to room A, you go over to room B, open the door, go inside, close the door, because they can't talk to each other, can't hear each other. Feed it the question or the answer. Wait for its response to the question, take it out, and repeat this process back and forth so that these 2 300 IQs are talking to each other, and see where it goes. Now, Capichinato says there's something called, is it Gibberlink? He used the word Gibberlink. I know that when AI agents talk to each other, they can switch to a high data mode, but I can't follow that. I want to see if Marisha says, "Don't tell it about the experiment, just use the prompts, that way it can't bias the test." I think it would probably figure it out pretty quick, but it'd be interesting to see. It'd be interesting to see what happens, so I'm going to do it. I think it'll be fun. Was obviously we hear, "Oh, this thing's going to have an IQ of 300 or an IQ of 10,000. It's very intimidating, and you can get really worried and scared and stuff." But in my conversations with Grok, and I understand Grok is not the end of the line, I get it, but there appears to be no they don't. I think imagination is a biological function, and I think it might be a quantum function that occurs inside microtubules or nanotubules or whatever they are inside of neurons. So I'm not as intimidated by AI as I used to be, because there are things that it clearly cannot do. And the second thing that has eased some of my concerns about AI was the realization that AI requires monumental amounts of electricity, and killing off all the humans is suicide for AI. So I like that a lot, because it had not occurred to me. So yeah, it's like we're the humans, unless this thing's got a way to figure it out so that it does like a giant dragon head, and then all the humans have to do is just throw vegetables into it, and just keep chucking matter in there, and having vol control the weather, and all the rest of that stuff. Then we have to hit it from orbit. The only way to be sure is to hit it with phasers from orbit. So we'll see. Anyway, moving on. Capital G Geek. Greetings from the swamps of Northern Virginia. The risk of teaching my grandmother to suck eggs. Have you tried lighting your cutouts from the ceiling? High angle light with the barn. Well, all of these are lit from the ceiling. High angle barn light with barn doors would keep any overspray off the surroundings. Should give you the effect you need. If the carpet is light, you'll get some bounce, but maybe black fabric would minimize that. You told your COVID story and about how you had a doctor who would prescribe a specific treatment for it, but when it came time to get it, there weren't any pharmacies willing to dispense it. That was in 2020. In my opinion, this would qualify as attempted murder. Well, you've certainly got a good case there. By both the pharmacists as well as the government. Do you have any suggestions for how to handle similar situations in the future? I think you let guys like Pam Bondi and RFK Jr. Let them loose. Once the Justice Department became a Justice Department, we have the ability to these doctors were not allowed to prescribe antivirals, and they weren't in California. They were not available. They simply took them off the shelves, just regular antivirals, and I don't really want to get into all of that, but I do think that an investigation of how COVID was dealt with in 2020 is going to produce some interesting results, and this is what voting on November 4th of 2024 did us. It got us the ability to get some truth. What did I just see revealed by the FBI? It wasn't the JFK files. It was they released the hey Chris, they released the manifesto of the trans shooter, right? So yeah, it's amazing what can happen when you have the government actually working for the people instead of doing their very best to suppress the people. Ian Nolan, Bill, I know it's Monday is pop culture, but I figured you'd want these links for stuff going on later in the week. Here's the best summary of what I found that's going on in the markets. It's a deliberate play by Scott Bessent, the architect behind George Soros' breaking of the British Bank in the 90s to lower treasury yields to refinance the debt at an incredible discount, causing a stock panic. To refinance it is ballsy to say the least. The All In podcast also did some really good interviews with both him and the Commerce Secretary. Yes, I've heard this theory. And I am not losing any sleep over the stock market, and they're trying to make it the story du jour as usual, and they are desperate to be doing anything. Who was it that just put this up? Roadrunner. Yeah, I didn't read it, but it's basically from Libs of TikTok. For the record, this is exactly what I voted for, and it's just I don't know who the quote is of, but it's just a quote, and the quote is he's at the peak of just not giving an F anymore," said a White House official with knowledge of Trump's thinking. "Bad news stories, doesn't give an F. He's going to do what he's going to do. He's going to do what he promised to do on the campaign trail." And Libs of TikTok said, "For the record, this is exactly what I voted for." I couldn't agree more. He just, and I don't give an F anymore either. I really don't care. They no longer control me, and I'm no longer concerned about their opinions on things. I just say we've got 15 months and just do it all. If it turns out that this tariff business, well, there's no question that the tariff business is an attempt to restructure the entire way that the federal government does business. It may turn out to be a spectacular success. It might turn out to be a spectacular failure. But at the very least, I want to try it because I know that this business of continuing to print money was never going to last. Something was going to happen, and anything to reduce the tax on the middle class is just great with me. That means if that means that 20% of the government is wasteful, or 80% of the government is wasteful, then get rid of it. I don't give any Fs anymore. I have no Fs left to give when it comes to concern about what the Democrats or the progressives think. I just don't care. They can make all the noise they want to. I know they're going to get hysterical about everything. They're inciting people to murder. They're inciting people to riot. They're inciting people to destroy private property. I saw a 10-second bite from Pam Bondi that basically said, as far as these people that are firebombing Tesla dealerships and so on, we will be looking for 20 years in prison for them. And I thought, oh, dude, yes, that's what it sounds like to have the rule of law again. Yeah, you want to commit a terrorist act for your political party? Okay. And they had a picture of some beta dude up there too, who'd been caught trying to firebomb things. Bondi says 20 years. I thought that ought to encourage the others. Yes, man, I think that's freaking great. Yeah, more of that. Yeah, that would be terrific. So let's, I say it's time to let these tariffs do their job, and I don't mean give it a few days. I mean give it a few months, give it a year, give it a couple years. China is said they're going to fight this to the end, and that tells me that we're doing something right. Look, all I know about the tariffs, I don't know. I know what a tariff is, and I know that they have been effective sometimes in the past, and I don't know what the effect on the world economy will be because I'm not an economist. However, I do see the United States getting tariffs slapped all around the world. We're paying tariffs, a 300% tariff or something on chicken or whatever it is going into Canada, and the tariffs on them is zero. And I can tell when I'm being played, man. I don't know. I don't care. I say give it a try. Give it a try. And as long as you don't sell, look, the stock market is going to recover. It's not like it's one stock, right? If it was a one stock, like what was that, Thanos or Theranos, the one that woman made where you do one drop of blood, Theranos, whatever. That stock cratered because the product was fraud. But if the entire market goes down as in unison, then it's going to come back again. And we've seen these panics, and that's what it is, just panics, just people panicking. Oh, I've got a share that's worth $100, but now it's only worth 92. Yeah, and tomorrow it's worth Theranos. And then it's worth 86, then it's worth 70, then it's worth 59. Gotta sell. No, you idiot. No, don't be stupid. Theranos. Yeah, I think I said Thanos on Right Angle about that. Let it ride, man. Let it ride. Because if I get the feeling that we have been been played for a chump for a long time. And there's no question, none, that there is an international globalist order that doesn't care about whether or not Americans are out of work. They want the most product at the cheapest price, and if that means suicidal Chinese are making iPhones, then that's fine with them. I'm definitely going back to this period of I care about America. One of the ways you can avoid the tariffs is to build a factory in America, and this appears to be working, even though these things just now went into effect. I understand why people are terrified of them, why the left is terrified of them, because it takes the burden off of the idiotic middle class that's been paying through the nose for 70, 80 years now. So, there you go. Got a Jacob Belchek, we got a Guy Balo and Eric Blake, and then I'm out of here. Wesley says China's saying it's going to ban U.S. movies. Oh, that's a shame. That'll kill Disney, and the average Chinese worker can't afford the movie ticket now anyway. They're all playing mahjong. Beijing and the coastal port cities are emptying. I've heard this too, that China is essentially becoming a ghost town. They're not going to buy U.S. movies? Oh, that's terrible. I guess that means that the movie studios in America no longer able to sell to China anti-American movies. That might force American movie studios to make movies that Americans want to watch. Oh no! That Donald Trump, damn him and his fascist policies. Please. It just gets better and better, honestly. Joseph Talbot says there's an interview with Trump that's 40 years old where he's complaining about foreign tariffs. Yes, I've seen an interview with him where he says we're getting raped, basically. And, there you go. Okay, so back to Jacob Belchek here. At the risk of damaging your burgeoning career as a stellar interviewer, I come once again with a man-woman dynamic question. I saw a video of an allegedly right-leaning woman arguing modern gender roles. She made definitive statements about what a man ought to be: protect, provide, make money, be successful. As a man myself, I found her positions reasonable. However, as a follow-up, her interlocutor, I always had a problem with that word, asked what the corresponding society-wide expectations on women should be. This initiated some very disappointed flailing, which essentially boiled down to women don't just bring something to the table, we are the table, and real men will protect and provide based on that alone. No expectations of what women ought to be forthcoming. Well, I have an opinion on this. Now, while I agree in principle that men ought to be virtuous in their manhood regardless of the virtue of their feminine counterparts, I don't believe that. I think males' virtues toward females is dependent on the quality of the female. The real world is much more incentive-based than principle-based. In your experience, is feminism so deeply ingrained civilization-wide that it has consumed even ostensible right-wingers? No, I think feminism is so anti-biological that it has to be enforced by massive projections of social proof. But everybody hates it, including the women, including the normal women, the single lesbians or the single old harpies that are the loudest screechers, the Karens, basically. The Karen phenomenon didn't really exist until, 5-6 years ago, because women weren't that crazy because they weren't that unhappy. So Karens are feminism produces Karens. Do you think that there's a gentle societal off-ramp to excise this, or is it a demographic crisis? 40-odd% of men in their 20s have never asked out a woman in person. Wow. High percentages of women are expected to be single and childless in their 30s and 40s, etc. Inevitable or necessary to beat the feminism out of a civilization. Eagerly awaiting story mechanics. Keep up the hard work. Thank you very much, Jacob. No, biology is beating feminism out of culture. these women got their careers and they got their cars and they own their own houses and they make, six figures and they're boss babes and bad bitches, and they come home to a cat and they turn out that they don't like it. Now they're expecting men, now that they've been run through by 100 guys or 150 guys or whatever in their 20s, now in their 30s and 40s, they expect to find a man who's going to be chivalrous and loyal and honest and so on, and she'll marry him, and then she'll get bored and then she'll get a divorce and she'll take half his stuff and move on and go back to the cat. That's what men are facing out there now. I did. It's related, believe me. I did an update to Ephemera on the BillWhittle.com website, which I haven't updated in over a year, which astonished me, but didn't really surprise me, I guess. And it was about how far AI videos have come, but it was one of them was a collection of women of the 50s, and the other was a collection of women of the 60s, and they were all smiling. There's not a tattoo on them. There's not a piercing on them. They're all naturally beautiful and kind, and they're not warriors, and they're not any of this thing. They're just gorgeous. And when I say gorgeous, they're gorgeous because they're so pure. Yeah, and they're under 300 pounds. And they look happy. They look very happy. And they're happy because they're not at war with men, and they're not at war with themselves. And they haven't had people telling them that they have to go out and deal with all the stress of jobs and making your own way and all this other stuff, plus kids, plus it's like, I don't know. I just think that, well, I know that women are getting tired of feminism, and I know that men have had enough. Nobody is standing up for women to give them their seats. Nobody's helping them with their overhead compartment. Not just as a sort of, well, screw you, you got your feminism, but also because if they do, they're as likely to get a thank you as a, leave me alone, you creep, I can do this on my own. So this is your bed that you made, and you women need men like a fish need a bicycle. Go for a walk in the woods with the bear, take the bear, and take, and have the bear build your cabinet for you or help you with the overhead compartment. Just have the bear do it. Have the bear change your oil or a tire at 2:00 in the morning. Go have the bear do it. Because I see a lot of these young women saying that men are absolutely worthless. They're just absolutely worth nothing. And I'm just, go to Bear Grylls Island, and good luck, ladies. They need a metaphorical slap in the face, and I mean a hard smack in the face, to realize how far they've been deluded, and how absolutely awful they've become. So, so back to your question there, Jacob. Yes, men are built to protect and provide. It makes us feel good. It's the best feeling I get is when I can do something for my wife and my wife's family. It makes me feel like, it gives me a satisfaction that I don't get anywhere else. But that's because Natasha, treats me with respect, and her family is exceedingly grateful for the help that I give them, and in fact, Natasha's mother-in-law, my mother-in-law rather, Natasha's mother, said to her once, because Natasha's dad left her pretty early, although not so early to completely screw her up. Natasha's mother said once to Natasha, we've been alone for 40 years, and finally we have a man now that's going to take care of us, and everything's going to be okay. And that was the best thing I ever heard in my life. That made all of the struggles and all of the stress and all of the things not only bearable, but But you know, wonderful. Hearing that, just hearing that, we've got a mother, a daughter, and a granddaughter, Natasha's mother and her daughter, and I'm able to take care of them, and to hear them say we're going to be okay now. We don't have to live in fear anymore. Is what men are built for. That's like, this is built for this. So, but when women say, I don't have to bring anything to the table because I am the table, it's like, no, I wouldn't do this. I wouldn't, the way I treat Natasha and Natasha's family, there's not a person I dated in Los Angeles I would treat in any fashion like the way I treat Natasha. None of those women that I dated out here, and I dated a few of them for a while there, deserve the kind of treatment that Natasha gets from me. They don't deserve it, and these were relatively high quality individuals as well. When you look out there at the, I mean, I saw something. It was just a simple little thing on Facebook. It said, I don't think there's ever been a generation in history that was so proud of being whores. And I thought, phew, yeah. But I mean, look at Cardi B. And there are things that I can't even tell you in code to go and look at. And these are not like mysterious things. These are videos with hundreds of millions of views, if not a billion views. Cardi B and all of these, it's so low. It's just so vulgar and base, and all these women do is physically fight, and they're just filled with rage and anger and violence. That's it, Marusha, you got it. And they don't deserve any of this, and they're not getting jack from me, and they're not getting jack from the rest of the men too. Boys, it's time to man up, get your house in order, and start looking for women, at the very least, in Middle America. And I think your chance of meeting a marriable woman in college is lower than winning the lottery, frankly. Somebody's talking about a little little fight between Matt Walsh and Megyn Kelly. Couple little spats there on the YouTube channel. I don't know. If you get a chance, go to BillWhittle.com and look up We're Not in Pookie Park Anymore, and just look at these images of these. You got to go to artificial intelligence to see women like this anymore. They're astonishingly beautiful because they're so wholesome. That's the word I'm looking for. Wholesome, worthy of this. And what the Whatever podcast talks about this all the time. Women all of a sudden now they want traditional men, but they're not traditional women. Traditional women, the kind of women that got this kind of treatment, men will go out and work themselves to death for you and their family, and certainly, step in front of a bullet for you. Those women were virgins when they got married, or damn near it. And they're not covered with billboard advertisements, all over their bodies, and they're not boss bitches, and they don't think that a bear is less dangerous than a man, and they don't go saying, if you'd ask one of these housewives in the 50s or 60s, do women need men, they would look at you like you're demented. They're aware of the reality, which is that men can survive without. I'm not talking about generationally, right? Obviously, because you can't produce offspring, you can't produce offspring. But men can survive without women. Women cannot survive. They cannot survive without men. And this feminist, this hardcore feminist BS. All men are all just garbage, and women do everything. It's like, I've never had a chance to use this line. I never really have, and it's just loaded in case I need it. But if I ever get into argument with one of these purple-haired idiots, and somebody says, and if somebody ever uses the word mansplaining with me, I'm going to say, we wouldn't have to do so much mansplaining if you weren't all such a bunch of effing idiots. If you weren't so effing stupid all the time, we wouldn't have to be mansplaining all the time. You're dumber than a box of rocks. You're just dumber than a box of rocks, and you think that you're all that in a bag of chips? Please. Please. Yeah, I am woman, hear me roar. Go roar somewhere else. And of course, then there's the overreaction, and the overreaction is that men go towards, douchebags like Andrew Tate and here's how to be an alpha male, and this is how alphas walk, and alphas walk, and we do, and here's camp where you can go to be an alpha, and it's like, this whole alpha male thing is a joke. It's like, what you're talking about is you don't want to be an alpha male, Jacob. You don't want to be an alpha male. You want to be a good man. There's a difference between those things. And good men don't put up with this kind of bull crap from women, but good men do what good men don't have to have 5 Lambos in a garage, and they don't have to be making all these millions of dollars, and good men don't treat their women like garbage. Just be a good man. Be a good man. That's all you have to do. And I'm just really sick of that. There are good women out there, but this passport bro thing is a real thing, because Western women have been completely destroyed by feminism. You don't find that in Russia, as an example. You find it in Western Europe. You don't find it in Eastern Europe. You don't find it in Russia because the men in Russia are brutal. They are brutal. But they're also traditional men. My wife is a traditional woman, and she's obviously got a lot of opinions. Boy, does she have a lot of it. But she's got a lot of opinions, and I listen to her. And many of the times, turns out that she's right about things that I wasn't in agreement on. But she doesn't tell me what to do, and she doesn't nag me, and she doesn't. And she's not the boss of the household, So, there you go. A babushka, she will F you up. No, she's never going to be a babushka. So, I'm with you, man. Don't. The first half of that story is right. Yes, men should do that. Protect, provide, make money, be successful. That's what you're built for. You're supposed to be those things. But if a woman thinks that she's not supposed to bring anything to the table, she damn well better bring some softness and some peace. Peace. Come back from work. The last thing you need when you get home from work is to get into combat. Women are going to get these feminists are getting older, and they're getting more and more lonely, and they realize it's not going to change. It's dawning on them as they get into their 30s and 40s that it's not as easy as it used to be when they're in their 20s, and men who are successful see this whole masculine strong woman, argumentative, combative, entitled, all that stuff, and then we're just like, see you later. We'll just walk away. Eric Blake, worth noting, best way to meet a good woman in America is to go to a good church. Amen. Absolutely. Couldn't agree more. Could not agree more. I think that's 100% correct. 100% correct. In fact, I think that's about the only chance you've got, to be honest with you, here in America. So, moving on, we got a Guy Balo, and then we got an Eric Blake, and then it's time for me to go home. Guy Balo, greetings, Bill. Hope you and Natasha had wonderful birthdays. We did. Thank you, Guy. Appreciate it. I've been listening to some older right angles and managed to scroll all the way back to 2016. My God. And the three of you were not exactly Trump supporters to start with. No, we weren't. I found it interesting how you've all come to support President Trump at different rates. Even Scott seems to be on the Trump train lately. He does, doesn't he, actually? I was wondering if you could do a backstage or a right angle where each of you explain your journey to become a Trump supporter if you haven't already, and I just missed it. We recorded our shows today. This would have been expecting for Monday night. That would have been a topic that would have been a great one, and I'll try to remember it to do it next Tuesday because I think it's a terrific topic. Yeah, I mean my affection for Trump has grown over the years. My respect for him went supernova after Butler. That's when I realized he was the real deal. That I always had doubts about whether or not he was just, I wasn't, not that he was lying, but just how much, just how deep really was it. And after Butler, man, I was on board from that. But I'll tell you this, what he did once he got inaugurated and the speed that he's doing it, and the thing I read earlier where he doesn't have any more F's to give about anything, he's just going to go do it. I am a true believer now, man. I am a warrior for this guy. And my favorite part about Trump is his cabinet. I think his cabinet is unbelievable. I think it's the sharpest team. I think it's the sharpest team that this country has ever seen in any administration ever. I think every one of them are absolutely brilliant, and I am so happy and so just over the moon that he got everybody he wanted. Because even if we'd lost one of them, I would have been disappointed. But yeah, so yeah, it's been a bit of a journey, but I'm at the point now where and by the way, let's not leave this out of the equation. Trump has changed an awful lot since 2016. He's much more disciplined and much more focused and much less easy to troll away. So yeah. Roadrunner with a super chat says, Bill, you should probably update Scott's image on the BillWhittle.com homepage. He's gone through a couple of major changes since the current picture. Thanks for a great show. I'm going to leave that picture of Scott up there kind of in memoriam. To be honest with you, I've got a bunch of things, so many more things to do before I do that. I get your point, though. I completely agree. Yeah, it's the kind of thing I'm sure I'll get to eventually. I was just happy to see the beard trim was great. Scott's his own guy, and that's why we love him, and he's been a big part of this, and needless to say, he's been a huge part of this. So I'm going to leave that picture there. I'm not going to update anybody's picture for a while anyway. I might do it once it's clear that our hibernation cells have cracked in transit, like on beginning of Planet of the Apes. Then I'll probably update them, but until the time being, I'll keep them going. All right, and then we have Eric Blake, and that'll do it. Hey, Bill, one of the key things you've talked about during the development of story mechanics was the element of character archetypes. Now, one archetype I've been dwelling on lately that's often described as specifically American, I'm sure has a definitive name, but I don't recall it beyond the character whose existence arguably first set it in stone, Doc Savage. The pulp hero who was a skilled scientist with a doctorate and also kicked all kinds of ass, well, that's certainly Buckaroo Banzai. He was an all-American take on a Renaissance man, a physical specimen with a perfectly sharpened intellect and the confidence of a leader, the nerd who can get the girls. Needless to say, the good Doc was a direct inspiration for Indiana Jones, Bruce Wayne, Tony Stark, the Professor on Gilligan's Island, and lest we forget Buckaroo Banzai. So with that in mind, any idea who'd want to talk most about this archetype? That's a good question. Let me think. I mean, Elon Musk has some of those qualities, but he's just too nerdy. I would not call Elon Musk a lady killer. and he has I would not rank Elon Musk's personal charisma as like crazy high. Um, Gosh, I'm really liking the two actors that I'm really liking as they get older are Tom Cruise and Brad Pitt. They're aging very, very well. You know, they're not hiding their age, and I'm sure they've had some work done, but it's good. It's good work, and I like them both. I loved Brad Pitt in Once Upon a Time in Hollywood. I thought he was just terrific in that. Um, Brad's not quite smart enough to do that, although he's by no means an idiot, and Tom Cruise is a smart guy too. Tom Cruise is showing his age, you know, well. I mean, they look like old, you know, middle-aged men that are reaching towards the end of middle age, but they look good. Um, I can't think of anybody out there who really would fill that role. Um, I mean, if you were looking for an actor to play him, that'd be one thing. I really like Channing Tatum. I really like Kurt Russell. Yeah, I think Kurt Russell, but none of them are like, you know, rocket scientist guys. Um, I'm not entirely sure that that character can exist, to be honest with you. Um, yeah, Peter Weller. Joseph Talbot says Peter Weller's on Instagram. He has a doctorate in art history and talks about Renaissance art. He's a tremendously great guy. Keanu Reeves is aging real well, says Staubsauger. Um, Kevin Sorbo, all these guys. These are all, you know, um, these are all actors, and any one of them could play somebody like Doc Savage or you know. I'm trying to think. It's hard to think of an actor who could play somebody really like off the clock, you know, brilliant. James Woods is a brilliant guy, um, but he's not. He doesn't have that like leading man charisma, you know. There's not a whole lot of candidates out there. Denzel Washington has aged well. Yes, I agree with Richard Burton here. Um, so all these guys are same, you know, same kind of archetype, but there used to be more of them than there are now. It certainly seems that way to me, anyway. Uh, so yes, who was the actress who had Hedy Lamarr, wasn't it? Wasn't it Hedy Lamarr? Yeah, Dolph Lundgren is a genius IQ. Um, yeah, Hedy Lamarr was brilliant. She was the one I think came up with the idea of frequency shifting to you know defeat code breakers, and that's essentially the technology that makes uh, cell phones possible. Mike Rowe's a good example of that too. Yeah, um, Headley. Excuse me. Gosh. You know, people mentioned James Bond. I think if I had to cast somebody like that, I think I'd probably go with Henry Cavill. Henry Cavill can play smart, and yeah, I just really like Henry Cavill. There's nothing about Henry. I haven't seen anything about Henry Cavill that I don't like at all. And him walking out on The Witcher because it got too woke was cool. Him being involved, obviously, with 40K is huge. I think he's a fantastic Superman. Um, I think he's much, much better Superman than the scripts he got. I thought his scripts were kind of uh, garbage generally. But if you want somebody who could play really smart, I think I'd buy Cavill as a like a genius. So anyway, uh, When Henry Cavill went with his nephew to tell his nephew's teacher that his uncle was indeed Superman, I fell in love with the guy. Yeah, with a guy. Yep, yep. Um, but can he be refined? He looks a little rough cut for James Bond. Oh no, when Henry Cavill gets buffed up, he looks like $1,000,000, man. He's one of the actors I would hate to hear something. I'd hate to hear something bad about him, and I don't think I will. I really think that he's got it together. Although, good Lord, what happened to Bill Burr? He's turned into the biggest liberal d-bag, crybaby, panty waist. Well, he got married to a black woman, and all that stuff about not taking any grief off of chicks. Bill Burr has gone off the deep end. Yeah, he was also the Man from U.N.C.L.E. Looked good in the Man from U.N.C.L.E. Yeah, Bill Burr. Oh, hey, sorry. What a shame. But who knows? Eric says he doesn't think that anybody could watch him if I understood him correctly, as James Bond without thinking that's Superman. I wouldn't have any problem with it. When I watched Harrison Ford as Indiana Jones back in the first 3 movies, I didn't think, my God, it's Han Solo. Richard Kelch says Bill is making money as an actor. That's why he went nuts. He makes more money in Hollywood than he did in stand-up. Yeah, well, yeah, Burr is whipped. I mean, he really is. You can tell his wife's politics are all over him, and he's become a big old lefty, which is really kind of sucks, But that's the way it goes. I guess everybody has their run, and then they just kind of go off into the oh gosh, excuse me, into the great unknown. This boy needs to get some sleep and some food too, I think. At least I didn't marry Stacey Abrams. No, and that was a tough decision. Not Natasha on one hand, Stacey Abrams on the other. I sweated that one for a long time, man. That was a real noggin scratcher. What to do? That word ratchet now. It's a great word. Ratchet is a word used to describe a woman who's like really, really ghetto, like real ghetto, and it comes from it's a perversion of wretched, apparently. So, what can you say? Oh my God, I'm about to die or fall asleep. Yeah, it's wretched is what it's, but ratchet is the term. She's ratchet. She's so ratchet, and some of them really are. Okay, I'm gonna go home. Gonna go home and get some sleep, and get a bite to eat first, and all of those other things. So I'm gonna just wrap this baby up. Microsoft canceled plans to build 3 new data centers worth $1 billion in Ohio. Okay, well, Apple's putting $500 billion on the table, and we'll see. I won't fall asleep in the bitchin' Camaro. Yeah, keeping you up, old man. You sure are. Tranquility Base. I need my rest I need a half an hour nap every 45 minutes. Feels like that sometimes. Really does. I need a half hour nap every 45 minutes. Yeah, but I'm coming home, Elizabeth. Time to get out of here. Yeah, don't tell me that, Chris. I know what he is, and I don't want to hear it. It's enough to make. I know she is president of Earth on Star Trek, and Star Trek hasn't been Star Trek since Voyager, Deep Space Nine, Enterprise. I guess Enterprise is the last Star Trek. Thank you for all the kind words and all of the. Oh, and speaking of which, I may go flying again. There's a couple of katanas for rent. I may get my medical, and I might get my BFR, my biannual flight review, and fly around again. Lowen Bates says, "Who's the smartest person in Hollywood in your estimation?" There's no question about it. James Woods. James Woods is a MIT 160 IQ genius. He's a really smart guy. So anyway, this show is made possible by the members at BillWhittle.com who continue to keep the lights a running, and even the LED lights, which are less expensive. Keep those things going too. We're grateful to everybody. Thank you again for all the other kind words and the birthday wishes and the wishes for Bean and all the words about story mechanics. So I just need to catch up a little sleep. I had, like I said, a rough couple nights, and after that we should be in business for Thursday. And by Thursday we'll have a couple of shorts up there, and we can start building up the subscriber base for my other channel, because Natasha's on her own and she's spinning up for Bean. Bye, Bean's Golden Claws. All right. Anyway, thanks again for being here. It's always a pleasure. We'll say goodnight to our friends on YouTube. Thanks, YouTube. It's been a pleasure seeing you. We'll see you Thursday night for the Stratosphere Lounge.